Hello everyone, Pooya Mohit here, and welcome to a truly special episode. Today, we're honored to be joined by a visionary builder creating a groundbreaking AI platform for lending and real estate, one that puts ownership and control back in the hands of the user and unlocks an entirely new ecosystem of tools, services, and growth. Pavan Agarwal is the CEO of SunWest Mortgage Company and founder and CEO of AngelAi. That is the world's first fintech AI companion. Since launching AngelAi, he's been reshaping how people can access mortgages, lending, and financial opportunity. What truly sets Pavan apart is his journey. Learning coding at 10, helping scale a family mortgage business into a multi-billion dollar operation, and channeling that experience into a mission to remove financial barriers rather than reinforce them. Pavan, it truly is a privilege to have you here today.
Yes, I was looking forward to this. This is going to be fun.
Excellent. Yes, and it's cool. We got to meet. We got to meet briefly in Los Angeles. So I'm going to talk about some of those things that I saw at your presentation. I'll weave that in. But first, I want to introduce our audience a little bit more to you. So you wrote your first AI program back in, I believe, 1985 as a child.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
correct?
Not exactly a child. I was a full-on teenager,
Full
late
on
teen,
teenager, great. But in your younger days,
just before college.
yeah, in your younger days,
Yeah.
and you were also helping your family's real estate portfolio, which is very unique. So,
Yes.
how did growing up in that environment kind of inform and shape the mindset of the Pavan that we see here with us today?
The mindset is all about entrepreneurial, and it's all about just basic basic business values, which is make a buck, save a buck. Right? Watch, always balance out every month. Always don't go into too much debt, right? Or don't go into any debt, really. Right? And if you're going to go into debt, use it to buy assets. Don't go into debt to buy fancy clothes or cars, right?
Absolutely.
So, and it's most immigrants have that mindset because in the old country, that's the only way you survived, right? So, and it's the same thing, work and save and build.
That's excellent. So, making sure that your dollar is not just an expense, but it's an investment, I guess, into the
Yes,
future of what you're going to do.
exactly. Every dollar you spend has to be an investment, and don't spend it on anything else. If it doesn't have a return, don't spend it.
I love that advice. I wish I had taken that as a young man myself. So now let's jump over a little bit to Angel AI. I know we're fast forwarding. What was the original problem that you set out to solve when you were making Angel AI to make it fundamentally different than what we see in the market today?
Well, the problem is the industry is way too manual, and that's what, from the 80s, and that's why I started to tinker with AI back then. Is my dad said, look at this, just data, and it just do some calculations and make some decisions. He's like, how hard can this be? You can figure it out. Like, yeah, you can figure it out. It makes sense. It doesn't seem too hard. And here we are, 40 plus years later, and we figured it out. It took that long. So the problem is simply like, it's too many hands, too many people, it's too manual. I mean, the banking industry is still in the 19th century. The world has progressed on everything you see around you, every gadget you use is all manufactured by robots, and its precision and it's accurate and its quality. You go to the store, you buy it, and open the shrink wrap, and it's going to work. Why hasn't financial services come to that point yet? Right. And it's because each financial product that's created for a customer, right, is tailor-made for each customer, right? And so whenever something is tailor-made, it requires a lot of intelligence through the manufacturing process. So that then puts a mass amount of human manual involvement in it. So it's an ideal industry for artificial intelligence because as much as it requires human intelligence, a lot of the human intelligence is very similar, is very pattern based. And so you can have an AI do everything that a human does in banking and a lot of real estate processes, which you support, and we can then take the same lessons we learned in banking and apply to real estate processes and multiply the productivity of real estate agents.
That's in essence, that's what every business owner and business leader wants to hear. It's what you could do more in the same amount of time with less cost.
Yes,
Sounds like a
exactly.
wonderful magic wand, and it's
But
actually true. Now, one of the things that I always hear about people, it's like, but the confidence factor in these products sometimes, especially with our experience with applications like it's everybody loves it, but applications like ChatGPT have those phantom hallucinations, sometimes I believe it's called, where elements appear in the data, and as a person who is precise in their industry of financials as real estate and mortgages, you've done something very few have dared to do. And I think you've taken your app one step further, and that's by fully warranting some of the decisions
yeah,
your AI makes. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
yeah, absolutely. I'll give you the short answer and I'll give you the long answer.
Okay.
So the short answer first, and after that, the rest of you who are not so interested in the bits and the bytes, you can tune out. So the short answer is that it's the only AI on the planet, and we have over 110 patents around this technology, and it's valued at over $100 billion. Okay, it's that special and unique. It's the only AI that is so accurate that we warrant every answer that she gives. Okay, so that warranty means that if she looks at a document or looks at your request and she gives you an answer saying, "Well, let's do it this way," okay, we will honor that. We will do it that way, even if it means that we get stuck with $1 million asset on our balance sheet that is not investment grade. We will follow the AI exactly to what she says. So that is a incredible level of warranty. If you compare that with every other AI in the world, whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude's Anthropic, they all give you a big warning that says, "Don't trust anything and double check and do your own homework and don't follow any of my advice." And in fact, a few months ago, ChatGPT disabled medical and legal advice coming out of ChatGPT because of the right after they released ChatGPT 5 because of the liability that imposed or potentially created for them. And I suspect financial advice will be coming next, where they'll have to turn that off as well. So that's the short answer. And the long answer is that the technology is very different. There's a lot of AI companies out there that are butting up, say we have AI, whatever,
You have a
they get
different language model that you're utilizing altogether for your
correct,
AI. Yeah.
correct, right. So and they do some cool things, and I've seen a lot of really cool AI technology that just tremendous tools to have in your tool belt, right? But they 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 take you to a certain extent, but then they stop because when you have they do some really cool stuff, but when you have to double check it, it doesn't make you that productive, right? And that's the AI paradox, where hundreds of billions of dollars are being spent on AI and building AI data centers, but it's not making any real money, right? OpenAI said, their revenue is $20 billion and their expenses are like $1 trillion or something like that, right? So when because if you have to double check everything that AI does, you can't get an economic lift, and no one's going to be willing to pay you more than a marginal amount for for the service it provides. Okay, so on the contrary, we developed what we call a transactional language model. Okay, and we developed it from scratch, and this is back 2019 when we first rolled it out. That's when AngelAi went into full production. And the transaction language model treats the world differently. It treats the world as a series of specific decisions.
Hmm.
Okay, and first looks at the big picture, understands the concept, the goal, what is the goal you're seeking, like very much like a goal seek in Excel. Okay, and then it then looks at breaks it down to millions of little decisions, and then it resolves those decisions. And so what happens is you also get in the transactional language model, you also get traceability. Right. So that's the other thing that's required in anything that involves money, anything that involves high stakes decisions, medicine, law, whatever. You have to have traceability. You have to, as it thinks, it needs to tell you uh, what it's thinking, right? Not not trying to recreate what it thought after it finished thinking. It's two different things. So when you go to ChatGPT and you ask it to answer a problem, then you ask it to show me how you got there, right? It actually finds the answer first, right? And it doesn't know how it found the answer, but gives you an answer, and then it goes back and feeds that back in and says, give me a chain of thought." Okay, so it creates it artificially creates the logic. It doesn't actually tell you the logic as it's doing it. It doesn't know what it actually did. It just artificially creates it.
It's a
So it
reverse
gives you
engineer based on an assumption, I guess.
right. It gives you an illusion that it's thinking, but when it's not. Okay. All right. Whereas this model actually tells you what it was thinking as it was thinking. Right. So it's a very different, it's completely unique approach to doing this. And actually, what just happened recently, there was a breakthrough paper by MIT that was released in the beginning of January, end of December, and it's called the recursive. They call it recursive language model. That's the name MIT gave it. And when you read that paper, anyone here can Google it. Just say MIT recursive language model, and it'll come up. And so and I read that paper, and there's been a lot of noise about that paper, and they're talking about that the AI industry is talking about that paper as the next big breakthrough paper. Okay, and I read it, and then I see how they're doing it. They're basically rediscovered what we discovered, 10 years ago. And they did a few things differently, but it's largely what we discovered 10 years ago. And potentially, as when I read it, I saw that it could be, if anybody commercially applied it, it could be potentially infringing on our patents. So, well, we're taking we're taking some analysis on that as well. So, but so the bottom line is we've figured out models and algorithms years ago, but that's just what we figured out 10 years ago, right? We figured out stuff last month. We were filing patents every month, and so the stuff, for example, the stuff we figured out last month, I don't think MIT will figure it out for another 10 years. So we'll always have a big head start on them.
So this is actually a perfect segue because when I saw you speak in California, you dropped a bomb, so to speak, on the audience as you walked us through the valuation of the AI industry or its expected valuation, should I say, by 2030. Not just
Mhm.
the AI industry, but then also the portion that is real estate. And I think that left jaws agape. Can you give us a little insight on that? Because I would love our audience to get a little perspective of what kind of
Right,
numbers we're talking about in this AI
right.
world.
Yeah, like if we look at the entire U.S. mortgage industry, right? There's $2 trillion of residential mortgages that are done every year. So in essence, actual residential real estate is probably more than that. I think what 70% of residential real estate that's transacted gets a mortgage. 30% is cash buyers. So that means, close to $3 trillion of residential real estate transacted every year. 2 trillion of it is done through mortgages. Okay. Whereas the AI industry itself, just the AI industry, is projected to add 15 trillion to the economy by the end of the decade, right? So that's $3 trillion a year over the next 5 years, right? And that's all forms of AI, but and that's the investment in data centers and power in engineering and economic value that's created by the apps and so forth. So if you think about the AI industry is as big as the entire residential real estate market. And that's just this decade. and breakthroughs are coming out every single day by different companies and different researchers. So that's by 2030. Can you imagine what we're going to be by 2040? I mean, you can't even imagine that world in 2040. It's changing so fast, and things like they're using AI to create new proteins, and what used to take decades of research, they run the model through the AI, and they got a new protein that they never imagined before, and it can whatever cure cancer. I mean, like they got a cure cancer vaccine now, and it's largely credit to AI. And so all of these things that are happening, so we're going to see explosion across all fields: physics, research,